I never thought a stranger would be the one to open my eyes. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I had gone to my favorite diner in town, the one with checkered floors and the smell of fresh coffee always in the air. I wasn't there for the food. I was there because I needed to think, to breathe, to escape the silence that had been growing in my own home. I sat by the window, stirring my tea, watching people walk by. That's when she came over, the waitress. Her name was Linda. She had kind eyes and gray hair tied back in a loose bun. I'd seen her there 100 times before, but we'd never really spoken. She leaned in close, her voice barely a whisper. "Ma'am, I don't want to alarm you, but you might want to stay hidden for a bit. Just watch. Don't let them see you yet." I looked up at her, confused. My heart started to beat a little faster. "What do you mean?" I asked. She glanced toward the door, then back at me. Her expression was serious. Gentle, but serious. "Your son and his wife just walked in, and they're not alone. Just trust me. Stay here. You'll understand soon." Then she walked away. I sat there, frozen. My hands were shaking. I didn't know whether to stand up, walk over, or do exactly what she said. So I stayed, hidden in the corner booth. And 1 hour later, I saw the truth. Let me tell you a little about myself first, so you understand why that moment hurt so much. My name is Margaret. I'm 63 years old. I live in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. White picket fences, church on Sundays, porch lights that stay on all night. I was married to a wonderful man named Robert. We had one son. His name is Daniel. Danny, I used to call him when he was little. He was everything to us, our whole world. Robert passed away 4 years ago. Heart attack. It was sudden. One day he was mowing the lawn, and the next, he was gone. After that, Danny was all I had left. He's 35 now, tall, brown hair, quiet like his father. He got married 3 years ago to a woman named Jessica. She's younger, 28, blonde, always dressed sharp, blazers, heels, designer handbags. She worked in marketing for some company downtown. I tried my best to welcome her into the family. I really did. When they got engaged, I helped plan the wedding. I paid for the flowers. I baked 3 different cakes just so they could taste test and pick their favorite. I smiled through every decision, even when Jessica changed the guest list twice and didn't invite half of Robert's side of the family. It's her day, I told myself. Let her have it. After the wedding, they moved into a new house just 10 minutes from mine. I thought that was a good sign. I thought it meant they wanted me close, that I'd still be part of their lives. And for a while, I was. I'd come over on Sundays with casseroles. I'd babysit their dog, a golden retriever named Max, whenever they went out of town. I'd send Jessica little birthday gifts, scarves, candles, things I thought she'd like. But somewhere along the way, things started to shift. The calls became less frequent. Sunday dinners turned into, "We're busy this week, Mom." When I'd drop by, Jessica would answer the door, but wouldn't invite me in. She'd stand in the doorway, arms crossed, with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, hi, Margaret. Danny's not home right now. I'll tell him you stopped by." And the door would close. I started to feel like a stranger in my own son's life. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to cause problems. I didn't want to be that mother-in-law, the one who complains, who meddles, who makes everything about herself. So I stayed quiet. I pulled back. I stopped dropping by. I waited for them to reach out. They didn't. Weeks turned into months. I'd see pictures on Facebook, Jessica and Danny at restaurants, on weekend trips, laughing with friends I didn't recognize, and I wasn't in any of them. It felt like I was being erased. That's when I started going to the diner more often. It became my escape, a place where I could sit, have a cup of tea, and not feel so invisible. And that's where I was on that Tuesday afternoon when Linda told me to hide. I shifted in my seat, trying to stay low. My booth was tucked in the back corner near the restrooms. From where I sat, I could see the front door, the counter, and most of the dining area. And there they were. Danny and Jessica had just walked in. But Linda was right. They weren't alone. There was another woman with them. She looked older, maybe in her late 50s. She had short silver hair, a navy cardigan, and glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. She was smiling, laughing even. Jessica had her arm looped through hers. I didn't recognize her. They took a table near the window, the same spot I usually sat. The irony wasn't lost on me. Linda came over with menus. I watched her greet them warmly, like she did with everyone. She poured them water, took their orders, and then she walked back toward the kitchen, glancing at me once as she passed. Her eyes said, "Keep watching." So I did. At first, it seemed like a normal lunch. They talked, they laughed. Danny looked relaxed, happy even. Jessica kept touching the other woman's hand, leaning in close like they were old friends. But it was the way my son looked at her that made my chest tighten. He was smiling at her the way he used to smile at me. I strained to hear what they were saying, but the diner was too loud. The clinking of plates, the hum of conversation. All I could catch were fragments. "So glad you could join us today. Really means a lot. Like family already." That last part hit me like a slap. I gripped my teacup. My hands were trembling again. Who was she? Then Jessica stood up and walked toward the restroom. For a brief, terrifying moment, I thought she'd see me, but she passed right by, eyes on her phone, completely unaware. I let out a breath. While she was gone, Danny and the woman kept talking. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, nodding at whatever she was saying. She reached across and patted his hand. It was such a small gesture, but it looked maternal. My throat felt tight. A few minutes later, Jessica came back. She had something in her hand, a small gift bag, white with tissue paper sticking out of the top. She placed it in front of the woman. "We wanted to give you this," Jessica said, loud enough now that I could hear her clearly. "Just a little something to say thank you." The woman's face lit up. She pulled out the tissue paper and reached inside. It was a framed photo. I couldn't see it from where I was, but I saw her reaction. She pressed a hand to her chest. Her eyes got watery. "Oh my goodness," she said softly. "This is beautiful." Danny grinned. "We thought you'd like it." "I love it," she said. "I'm going to put this right on my mantle." Jessica beamed. "You've been such a blessing to us. Honestly, I don't know what we would have done without you." The woman shook her head. "Oh, stop. You two are the blessing. You've made me feel so welcome, so loved." She paused, her voice catching just a little. "After losing my husband, I didn't think I'd ever feel like I had family again. But you've given me that. You really have." My heart dropped. She was a widow, just like me, and my son had made her feel like family. I sat there, hidden in that corner booth, watching my son give to a stranger what he had stopped giving to me. The warmth, the time, the effort. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to walk over and say, "Danny, I'm right here. I've been right here." But I didn't, because deep down I was afraid. Afraid that he'd look at me the way Jessica did at the door, with that polite, distant smile that said, "I don't really want you here." So I stayed where I was. Linda came by my table with the coffee pot. She didn't say anything. She just refilled my cup, even though I hadn't asked. Then she leaned down, just slightly, and whispered, "I'm sorry, honey." I looked up at her. My eyes were stinging. "Do you know her?" I asked quietly. Linda hesitated, then nodded. "Her name's Caroline. She moved here about 6 months ago. Lives a few streets over from your son. She's been coming in here with them pretty regularly. Always sweet, always kind. And my son—" I couldn't finish the sentence. Linda's expression softened. "He talks about her like well, like she's someone important." My heart felt something crack inside me. More important than me? Linda didn't answer. She didn't have to. She squeezed my shoulder gently and walked away. I sat there for another 20 minutes, watching them laugh, watching them share a meal, watching my son live a life I wasn't part of anymore. And the worst part? He looked happy. I don't know how long I sat there. Time felt strange, slow and fast all at once. Eventually, they finished their meal. Danny paid the bill. Jessica helped Caroline with her coat. They stood up, still talking, still smiling, and then they walked toward the door. I should have stayed hidden. I should have let them leave. But something inside me snapped. I stood up. "Danny?" My voice came out quieter than I meant it to, but in that small diner, it was enough. He stopped, turned around. For a second, he just stared at me. His face went blank, surprised, maybe even uncomfortable. "Mom?" he said. What are you doing here?" I stepped forward, my purse clutched tight in my hands. "I come here sometimes," I said. "I didn't know you'd be here." Jessica's expression shifted immediately. Her smile faded. Her eyes narrowed just a little. She glanced at Danny, then back at me. "Oh," she said flatly. "Hi, Margaret." Caroline looked between all of us, clearly sensing the tension. She offered me a small, uncertain smile. "Hello," she said kindly. "I'm Caroline." I nodded. "Nice to meet you." There was an awkward silence. Danny cleared his throat. "Mom, this is our friend Caroline. She lives near us. We've been spending some time together. She lost her husband last year, and we've just been trying to help her feel at home here." "That's very kind of you," I said softly. I wanted to say more. I wanted to ask why he had time for her but not for me. Why he could take her out to lunch but couldn't return my calls. Why a stranger got the version of my son that I used to know. But I didn't. Because Caroline was standing right there, and she didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of whatever this was. Jessica, however, had no problem filling the silence. "We should get going," she said, her tone sharp. "Caroline, are you ready?" "Oh, yes, of course," Caroline said. She looked at me again. "It was nice meeting you." "You too," I whispered. Danny hesitated. For just a moment, I thought he might say something. Apologize. Explain. Anything. But then Jessica touched his arm. "Come on, babe," she said. And just like that, he turned and left. I stood there in the middle of the diner, watching them walk out the door, watching my son leave me behind again. Linda appeared beside me. She didn't say anything. She just stood there, a quiet presence. I sat back down. My legs felt weak. "I don't understand," I said, my voice breaking. "What did I do wrong?" Linda pulled out the chair across from me and sat down. "Honey," she said gently, "I don't think you did anything wrong." "Then why?" I looked at her, tears finally spilling over. Why does he have time for her and not for me? Why does he smile at her the way he used to smile at me? Linda sighed. She folded her hands on the table. "She've seen a lot of families come through here over the years, and I've learned something. Sometimes people find it easier to be kind to strangers than to the people who raised them." I blinked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "With a stranger," Linda continued, There's no history, no expectations, no guilt. Caroline doesn't remind Danny of his father. She doesn't ask him why he doesn't call. She doesn't make him feel bad for being busy. She's just easy. But I never tried to make him feel guilty. I never asked for anything. I just wanted to be part of his life. I know, but sometimes silence speaks louder than words. When you pulled back, when you stopped reaching out, maybe he thought you didn't care anymore. Or maybe he was relieved, because it was one less thing to feel bad about. Her words hit me hard. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was giving him space, not being a burden. But maybe all I did was make it easier for him to forget me. "What do I do?" I asked. Linda reached across the table and took my hand. "You talk to him. Really talk to him. Not about what he's done wrong, but about how you feel, about what you need. Because right now, he doesn't know. And if you don't tell him, he never will." I nodded, even though the idea terrified me. What if I told him and he didn't care? What if I opened my heart and he still chose her over me? But I couldn't keep living like this. Invisible. Erased. I had to try. That evening, I drove to Danny's house. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel the whole way there. I almost turned around 3 times, but I didn't. I parked in the driveway, took a deep breath, and walked up to the front door. I knocked. A few seconds later, Jessica answered. She looked annoyed. "Margaret, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Danny. He's busy." "Please," I said. "It's important." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she sighed and stepped aside. "Fine, but make it quick." I walked inside. The house smelled like vanilla candles. Everything was clean, organized, cold. Danny came down the stairs, still in his work clothes. "Mom, is everything okay?" "No," I said. "It's not." He frowned. "What's wrong?" I looked at Jessica. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, watching us. "Can we talk alone?" Jessica scoffed. "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of me." Danny glanced at her, then back at me. He didn't argue. So I took a breath, and I said it. "I feel like I've lost you." He blinked. "What?" "I feel like I don't matter to you anymore. You don't call, you don't visit, you cancel plans. And today I watched you have lunch with a woman I've never met, and you looked happier with her than you've looked with me in years." Danny's face went red. "Mom, that's not fair." "Isn't it? Tell me, Danny, when was the last time you took me out to lunch? When was the last time you smiled at me the way you smiled at her today?" He opened his mouth, then closed it, because he didn't have an answer. Jessica, however, had no problem filling the silence. "We should get going," she said, her tone sharp. "Caroline, are you ready?" "Oh, yes, of course," Caroline said. She looked at me again. "It was nice meeting you." "You too," I whispered. Danny hesitated. For just a moment, I thought he might say something. Apologize, explain, anything. But then Jessica touched his arm. "Come on, babe," she said. And just like that, he turned and left. I stood there in the middle of the diner, watching them walk out the door, watching my son leave me behind again. Linda appeared beside me. She didn't say anything. She just stood there, a quiet presence. I sat back down. My legs felt weak. "I don't understand," I said, my voice breaking. "What did I do wrong?" Linda pulled out the chair across from me and sat down. "Honey," she said gently, "I don't think you did anything wrong." "Then why?" I looked at her, tears finally spilling over. "Why does he have time for her and not for me? Why does he smile at her the way he used to smile at me?" I didn't wait for him to say anything else. I turned and walked toward the door. My chest felt tight, but my mind was clear. "Mom, wait," Danny started, but I didn't stop. I got in my car, I drove home, and when I walked through my front door, I finally let myself cry. Not the quiet kind of tears, the loud, messy kind, the kind that come from years of swallowing your pain because you didn't want to be difficult. I cried for Robert. I cried for the son I used to know. I cried for the version of myself that tried so hard to be small and easy and undemanding. And when I was done, I made a decision. I wasn't going to chase Danny anymore, but I also wasn't going to disappear. The next morning, I woke up early. I made myself breakfast: scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. I sat at my kitchen table and ate slowly, looking out at the backyard Robert used to tend. Then I got dressed. I put on my favorite sweater, the blue one Robert always said made my eyes look brighter. I did my hair, I put on a little lipstick, and I went out. I didn't go to the diner, not this time. I went to the community center downtown. There was a flyer I'd seen weeks ago about a quilting group that met every Thursday morning. I'd thought about joining, but never did. Today, I did. When I walked in, there were 6 women sitting around a large table, fabric and thread spread out in front of them. They looked up when I entered. "Hi," I said. "Is this the quilting group?" One of them, a woman with curly red hair and kind eyes, smiled. "It is. You here to join us?" "If that's okay," I said. "More than okay. Come on in. I'm Denise." She introduced me to the others: Paula, Sharon, Linda, yes, a different Linda, Rita, and Beth. They were all around my age, some older, some younger, all friendly. They made space for me at the table, handed me fabric, showed me what they were working on, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. We talked while we worked, about our lives, our families, our struggles. Paula had a daughter who barely called. Sharon's husband had passed 2 years ago. Rita was estranged from her son. I wasn't alone in this. We laughed, we shared stories, and when I mentioned, quietly, that I'd been feeling distant from my son, they didn't judge me. They didn't tell me I was overreacting. They just listened. "It's hard," Denise said, "when your kids grow up and don't need you the way they used to. You spend your whole life being their everything, and then one day you're just someone they used to know." "Exactly," I whispered. "But you know what I learned?" she continued. "You can't wait for them to make you feel valuable. You have to find that for yourself." Her words stayed with me. Over the next few weeks, I kept going to quilting group. I also started volunteering at the local library on Tuesday afternoons, helping with the children's reading hour. I joined a walking group that met at the park on Saturdays. I filled my life with things that made me feel alive. And slowly, the heaviness started to lift. I stopped checking my phone every hour, hoping Danny would call. I stopped driving past his house. I stopped waiting. I started living. Then, one Thursday evening, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it. It was Danny. He stood there on my porch, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. But he was there. "Hi, Mom," he said quietly. "Hi," I said. There was a pause. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, looking around like he hadn't been here in years. Maybe he hadn't. We sat down in the living room. I didn't offer him tea. I didn't rush to make him comfortable. I just waited. He cleared his throat. "I've been thinking," he said, "about what you said at the house." I nodded, but didn't speak. "And you were right," he continued. His voice cracked a little. "I haven't been fair to you. I got so caught up in my own life, work, Jessica, the house, everything, that I didn't realize I was leaving you out. Why Caroline? I asked, the question I'd been holding on to. He sighed. Jessica met her at a work event. Caroline had just moved here. She didn't know anyone. Jess felt bad for her, so we started inviting her to things. And I guess it felt good, helping someone, making a difference in their life. You could have made a difference in mine, I said softly. His eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'm so sorry, Mom. I thought you were fine. I thought you didn't need me anymore. I always needed you, Danny. I needed my son, but you weren't there. I know, and I'm here now if you'll let me be. I looked at him, really looked at him. He wasn't perfect, he'd hurt me, but he was here, and he was trying. I don't want perfect, I said. I just want honesty. I want effort. I want to feel like I matter. You do, he said. You always have. He reached out and took my hand. I can't promise I'll get everything right, but I want to try. I want to do better. I squeezed his hand. That's all I've ever wanted. We didn't fix everything that night, but it was a start. Danny started calling more. Not every day, but enough. He'd stop by on Sundays, sometimes with Jessica, sometimes without. We'd have coffee, talk, laugh a little. Jessica was still distant. That didn't change overnight, but I stopped trying to win her approval. I stopped shrinking myself to fit into her idea of what a mother-in-law should be. I was enough, just as I was. And Caroline? I met her again a few weeks later. Danny invited me to a little get-together at their house. She was there. At first, it was awkward, but then we started talking, and I realized she wasn't my enemy. She was just another woman trying to find her place in the world after loss. We even became friendly, not close, but kind to each other, because there was room for both of us in Danny's life. There always had been. It's been 6 months since that day at the diner. 6 months since Linda told me to stay hidden and watch. And I'm grateful she did, because sometimes you need to see the truth, even when it hurts, before you can start to heal. I still go to that diner. Linda and I have become friends, real friends. She knows my coffee order by heart now. 2 sugars, a little cream, and a side of honesty when I need it. I still go to quilting group every Thursday. I still volunteer at the library. I still walk with my Saturday group through the park, rain or shine. My life isn't empty anymore, and neither is my relationship with Danny. We're not perfect. We still have moments where we misunderstand each other, where old wounds show up uninvited, but we talk about them now. We don't let the silence grow the way we used to. Last Sunday, he showed up at my door with a bouquet of daisies, my favorite. He didn't have a reason, he just wanted to. I love you, Mom, he said, and I believed him. I've learned something through all of this. You can't make people love you the way you want to be loved. You can't force them to see you, to choose you, to prioritize you. But you can choose yourself. You can fill your own life with meaning, with connection, with purpose. You can stop waiting in the shadows for someone to notice you're missing. And when you do that, when you start living for yourself instead of waiting for others, something shifts. People start to see you again, not because you're chasing them, but because you're shining. I think about that moment a lot, sitting in that corner booth, watching my son laugh with someone else, feeling invisible. It was one of the hardest moments of my life, but it was also the moment I started to wake up. I stopped being quiet. I stopped making myself small. I stopped pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. And I started building a life I didn't need to escape from. If you're reading this or listening to this and you feel forgotten, I want you to know something. You are not invisible. You matter. And you don't have to wait for someone else to remind you of that. Find your people, find your purpose, find your voice, and use it because the world needs you, your family needs you, and most importantly, you need you. I still see Caroline from time to time. We had coffee together last week, just the two of us. She told me how grateful she was for Danny and Jessica, how they helped her feel less alone. And I told her I understood, because I'd felt that loneliness too. We're both widows, both mothers, both women trying to find our way forward after loss. And there's something beautiful in that. We're not competing anymore. We're just coexisting, supporting each other in the quiet ways women do. A few nights ago, I was sitting on my porch watching the sunset. The sky was pink and orange, the kind of sky Robert used to love. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Danny. "Dinner this Sunday? Just you, me, and Jess. No one else. Let's make it a tradition." I smiled. I'd love that. I put my phone down and looked back at the sky, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had learned to stand on my own 2 feet, to love myself even when others forgot to build a life I didn't need to escape from. The waitress warned me to stay hidden, and I'm glad I listened, because in that hour of watching, of waiting, of hurting, I saw the truth. Not just about my son, but about myself. I had been hiding long before I sat in that booth, hiding my feelings, my needs, my worth, waiting for permission to take up space. But I don't wait anymore. I show up, I speak up, I stand tall, and if that makes me difficult, so be it, because I'd rather be difficult than invisible. I'd rather be honest than convenient. I'd rather be seen, truly seen, than quietly forgotten. So if there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Don't wait for someone to notice you're missing. Don't hide in the corner hoping they'll come looking. Step into the light. Live your life fully, loudly, unapologetically. And if they love you, they'll meet you there. And if they don't, you'll be okay. Because you'll have yourself. And that, my friend, is more than enough. Thank you for listening. This is Margaret's story, but maybe, in some small way, it's yours too. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.